There is a quiet moment, just before a man truly wakes, a moment where the world is still soft, unformed, waiting for him to decide who he is. And I believe you have entered that very moment now. So let us begin gently, as I would in a small hall in New York or Los Angeles, with a room full of seekers leaning forward in silence. My friend, you are not limited to one desire. Do not let anyone persuade you that the infinite being you truly are must choose one blessing and postpone all others. That is the thinking of a divided mind, not of the divine imagination that you carry within your own being. I tell you this with absolute certainty. The same light that illuminates a single corner of a room can illuminate the entire room without any additional effort. A lamp does not struggle to expand its glow. It simply shines, and everything within its reach becomes visible. So are you. And just as the sun does not choose one flower, or one tree, or one rooftop to bless with its warmth, but touches all things in the fullness of its nature, so too are you capable of assuming a state in which many desires bloom at once. For you are not a creature begging for favors from life. You are life itself, expressing through a human form. And life is plural, abundant, overflowing. You are not here to choose between health or love, between success or peace. You are here to become the one who expresses all of them, because the source from which they spring is you. Now, breathe with me for a moment. Let the idea sink into you, slowly, like warm light spreading across your chest. I am not confined. I am not small. I am not limited to one desire. I am the source from which many desires arise. As the silence deepens, I want you to understand something else, something essential to everything that will unfold in this lesson. Life does not give to the one who waits. It gives to the one who is ready. Before anything appears in your world, there must be a declaration from within you, a quiet but firm acceptance that you are willing to receive. Creation listens for your readiness. If you do not claim it, if you do not stand in that inner posture of, I am prepared for my good, then the good cannot find a home in you. You must open the door before the guest arrives. In my day, when a man wished to declare his readiness, he spoke it aloud. He made it known. He affirmed it with conviction so that the universe had no doubt about his posture. And though the world has changed in many ways since those early evenings of my teaching, the principle remains unchanged. Your declaration of readiness is the signal that allows your desire to take form. So I invite you, my friend, to make that declaration now, clearly, confidently, without hesitation. Speak it, write it, express it outwardly, so that your inner world and your outer act become one. And if you feel moved to declare it publicly, do so here and now, by simply stating, I'm ready to receive. For the universe responds to the one who stands boldly and says, I am prepared for my blessings. I am willing. I am open. Those who withhold that declaration remain in the waiting room of life, wondering why nothing changes. But you who dare to say it, you who are willing to claim your readiness, you have already crossed the threshold. Now let us continue, for much awaits you. Let us go deeper now, into the very heart of the law itself. For unless you understand this single foundation, everything else remains scattered, powerless, merely hopeful. But once you grasp it, truly grasp it, your entire life becomes ordered, harmonious, obedient to your inner command. I have said it many times, and I say it again to you now. Your wonderful human imagination is God in action. Not a metaphor, not a poetic sentiment, a literal truth. When you imagine, you are touching the creative power that shapes worlds. When you assume, you are impressing the only substance from which reality is made. And when you feel something to be true, you are giving it life. My friend, this outer world that seems so solid, so factual, so unavoidable, is nothing but the dead shadow of the state you occupy within. Everything you see, your relationships, your finances, your opportunities, your limitations, all of it is merely yourself pushed out. What you accept as true inside becomes the environment you walk through outside. The world has no life of its own. It is animated entirely by your assumption. Now let me tell you why this matters so profoundly when it comes to manifesting many desires at once. You see, you have been trained by society to believe in many causes: the economy, your past, your upbringing, your education, your connections, your age, your timing. But all of these are illusions, branches that grow from the single trunk of consciousness. You do not have many causes. You have only one, you. If the outer world is merely an echo, then changing one small detail of your life is no harder than changing the entire composition of your life. It is the same law, the same act, the same assumption. Manifesting 10 desires is not 10 times harder than manifesting one. It is precisely the same effort. The effort of entering a new state of being. A state is like a garment. It has many pockets, many folds, many expressions, but you need only slip it on, and everything contained within that state begins to unfold effortlessly. You are not trying to manifest money and love and health and freedom separately. You are stepping into the state of the one who naturally has all of these things. And because the world is yourself pushed out, the world rearranges itself to match the new identity you accept. Consider the sun. It does not think, I shall shine on this one thing today and leave the rest in darkness. It shines because that is its nature, and in shining it illuminates many forms at once. Likewise, when you enter a state of inner richness, inner wholeness, inner possession, your light naturally reveals many blessings without extra effort. Imagine trying to light 10 candles with one flame. You do not struggle, you simply bring the flame close, and the fire leaps. When your assumption changes, the fire of your imagination leaps into many areas of your life, not because you are working harder, but because you are burning brighter. Let me tell you something few truly understand. The outer world has no choice. It must reflect the state you occupy. It has no freedom to do otherwise. It obeys the inner cause with mechanical fidelity. This is why I say multi-manifestation is not only possible, it is natural. It is inevitable once you stop thinking in fragments and begin thinking in states. You are not a man or woman trying to fix many parts of life. You are the operant power, choosing a new assumption, and the assumption carries within it all the fruits of its own kind. So if you choose a state of abundance, it will not only bring you money, it will bring generosity, opportunities, recognition, ease. For abundance is a composite state. If you choose a state of love, it brings companionship, warmth, self-respect, harmony, because love is a composite state. If you choose a state of wholeness, it brings health, clarity, confidence, emotional peace, because wholeness is a composite state. You see, you are selecting the tree, not the individual fruit, and the tree produces fruit after its own nature. What you must realize is this: you are not manifesting many things, you are manifesting yourself, and everything else must follow. The moment this becomes clear to you, the moment you understand that consciousness is the only reality, you stop worrying about how and begin choosing who. Who are you being within yourself? Who do you assume yourself to be? Who do you dare to claim as your inner identity? Answer that, and you will know what your outer world must become. Let us continue. As we move deeper into this great truth, allow me to share an image that has served many of my students well. An image simple, beautiful, and profoundly accurate. Picture a diamond, not a crude stone, but a finely cut jewel held up to the light. When you turn it, you see many faces, many angles, many reflections, but all of these glittering surfaces belong to one and the same stone. So it is with you. You are not a collection of separate desires. You are one being with many facets, one consciousness expressing itself in countless ways, one inner state revealing itself in many forms. When you try to manifest money over here, love over there, health in another corner of life, you create unnecessary tension because you begin to think of your desires as isolated, competing, independent events. But they are not. They are simply the faces of a single inner identity. Just as a diamond doesn't produce only one reflection, the state you occupy doesn't produce only one result. A state is rich, layered, composite. It contains within itself many manifestations that unfold in harmony. Let me give you an example. Imagine you enter the state of abundance. True abundance, not merely having more money, but feeling secure, supported, supplied, rooted in the certainty that life bends to you. From this state, Money is only one facet. Abundance also produces a natural confidence, ease in decision-making, generosity of spirit, unexpected opportunities, harmonious relationships, clarity of purpose. These are not separate manifestations. They are the natural reflections of one inner stone, your chosen state. Now imagine you enter the state of love. Not the longing for love, not the searching for it, but the assumption that you are loved, valued, cherished, desired, wanted. This state does not produce only a romantic partner. It brings with it self-respect, emotional balance, warmth in your interactions, better friendships, a kinder world, doors opening easily, and yes, a lover who reflects your inner worth. Again, one state, many reflections. Consider the state of wholeness. Feel yourself whole, complete, unbroken, unfragmented. The state of wholeness brings improved health, restorative sleep, improved habits, calmness, mental clarity, better physical vitality, an uplift in your very posture, not because you asked for each of these things individually, but because they are the natural expressions of what wholeness is. This is why I say, stop thinking in separate manifestations. Start thinking in one fulfilled life. A fulfilled life is not built piece by piece. It is selected, chosen as a state of being, and then revealed in the outer world as naturally as a seed grows after its own kind. You are not trying to collect blessings like trinkets. You are embodying a self from which those blessings naturally emerge. Hear me now, for this may be the most important shift you make. You are not manifesting things. You are manifesting an identity. All the so-called things are merely the shadows cast by that identity in the world of form. If you become in consciousness the one who is fulfilled, the one who is at peace, the one who is secure, the one who is successful, the one who is loved, then your world must reflect the facets of that state, the relationships, the opportunities, the health, the prosperity, the purpose, the ease. It is one identity expressed in many ways. You are the diamond, your desires are the faces, and the state you occupy is the light that makes them shine. Let us go further. Let us now enter a very delicate yet utterly transformative distinction, one that determines whether you spend your life chasing or receiving, whether you remain a beggar of life or step into your rightful place as its creator. It is the difference between wanting and having, between the attitude of I want and the inner declaration of I am, I have. Most people never realize that wanting in its very nature is a confession of lack. When you say, I want this, you are stating whether you intend to or not, I do not have it. And as long as your consciousness continues to proclaim that absence, the outer world must echo it. This is the law. Your outer world is nothing more than the delayed reflection of the inner speech you maintain. Now, when someone has only one desire, this mistake, though significant, may not multiply too dramatically. But when one has many desires, as most of you do, then wanting becomes a trap of endless shadows. Each desire becomes another reminder of something missing, something distant, something not yet yours. And soon your life feels like one long list of unmet longings. I have watched this happen to countless students. They would come to my lectures clutching a desire for money, a desire for love, a desire for health, a desire for purpose, all legitimate desires, but each one approached from the standpoint of yearning, and they wondered why nothing changed. They poured so much energy into wanting that they did not realize they were feeding the very state of not having. Hear this clearly. You cannot desire a thing and have it at the same time. To desire it is to confess that it stands outside your present reality. To assume it is to bring it into your present reality. This is why I teach the law of assumption. The moment you assume a thing to be true, the very moment you occupy the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you have shifted from wanting to having. You have changed your state. And the state you occupy is the only thing that matters. Let me share a story from a student of mine years ago. A young man who came to me in great distress. He wanted money urgently. He wanted a new career. He wanted companionship. He wanted health. But every word he spoke was drenched with worry, the perfume of wanting. He told me, Neville, I want these things so much. I pray for them. I beg for them. I said, my friend, you are praying from the wrong altar. Begging is the language of separation. Wanting is the confession of distance. You are asking for something instead of assuming from the reality of already having it. I instructed him to drop the word want from his inner vocabulary. Instead, I asked him to assume the consciousness of the man who had already received these gifts. Not the man hoping, not the man waiting, not the man preparing, but the man who has. He was to lie down each night and feel himself at the end, financially secure, purposeful, loved, healthy. I told him, enter the state of the man who already lives the life you desire. Think from that state. Feel from that state. Walk from that state. Your world must conform. He returned to me weeks later, transformed, not because he had received all those things yet, but because he had stepped out of the identity of the beggar and into the identity of the fulfilled man. He said, Neville, I feel as though everything is mine already. I replied, then it must be, for no outer fact can withhold from you what you have accepted within. Within months, his world rearranged itself so dramatically that even he could scarcely believe it. But I was not surprised, for the world is simply a servant of your inner state. Another student, a woman of great sensitivity, struggled for years because she wanted love so intensely that she lived constantly in the feeling of being unloved. Every thought of wanting love reinforced the belief that she lacked it. When she learned to assume the state of being loved, to feel cherished, valued, desired, without looking outside for proof, her entire life softened. The relationships around her changed. New people entered her life. Her posture changed, her tone, her gaze, and soon she had more love in her world than she had ever imagined. But it came only when she stopped wanting and began assuming. Let me tell you plainly, wanting scatters your power. Assuming concentrates it. When you want many things, you create many shadows. When you assume the state of the fulfilled self, you create one light, and that light illuminates all facets of your life at once. Stop thinking of yourself as someone collecting desires. Think of yourself as the one who is already fulfilled, and let the desires fall into place as natural expressions of that identity. You move in consciousness from chasing outcomes to living from the end of a fulfilled life. You stop asking, how can I get all these things? And instead declare, this is who I am. You stop thinking of desire as something you pursue and begin to understand that desire is simply the invitation to step into a higher state of being. So hear me well. Do not say, I want money. Say, I am supplied. Do not say, I want love. Say, I am loved. Do not say, I want health. Say, I am whole. And then rest. Rest in that assumption. Rest in that identity. Rest in the knowing that the outer must bow to the inner. You move from wanting many things to being the one in whom all things are already fulfilled. That is the law of assumption. That is the way out of struggle. That is the beginning of true creation. Let us now move into the practical heart of this teaching, the place where your inner world begins to take shape deliberately, not through effort, not through strain, but through the quiet art of selecting and sustaining a single imaginal act, a simple scene that carries within it the implication of an entire fulfilled life. You do not need one scene for money, another for love, another for health, another for success. That is fragmentation, and fragmentation weakens the imagination. What we want instead is one scene, gentle and compact, that implies many blessings at once. Everything in imagination works by implication. You do not imagine the thing. You imagine the moment after the thing has already been realized. You imagine the afterglow, the quiet evidence that your life has unfolded beautifully. A single imaginal moment can contain the fragrance of your entire destiny. Let me show you how this is done. Picture yourself not in some distant, grand, extraordinary event, but in an ordinary moment, a moment so natural, so unforced, that it could easily slip into the flow of daily life. Let us say you are sitting at a small dinner table with a close friend. You are relaxed. The atmosphere is warm. The room is softly lit, perhaps by a dim lamp or the glow of candles. You are not celebrating anything specific. Your joy is quiet, casual, effortless. This friend looks at you in that familiar, affectionate way, noticing something radiant in you. There is a softness in your smile, a calm in your posture, a quiet assurance in your presence. And then the friend laughs gently and says something like, everything has fallen into place for you, hasn't it? One simple sentence, 6 words. But listen carefully to the implications. For someone to say that to you, it must mean that money has become stable and abundant. It must mean that love is flourishing in your life. It must mean that your health is glowing, that you are whole and vibrant. It must mean that purpose now guides you, that opportunities have opened, that your days unfold with ease and joy. One sentence, implying many fulfilled desires. You do not need to imagine the money separately, or the relationship, or the well-being, or the clarity. The conversation itself reveals the composite state you now occupy. And you feel your body respond with a warmth that moves through the chest, a wave of gratitude, so soft and yet so deep that you find yourself smiling without effort. Your friend reaches out, perhaps touches your hand, or raises a glass toward you in a simple gesture of recognition, and you respond with a quiet, humble, sincere, everything has turned out beautifully. In that moment, there is no longing, no questioning, no hoping. You are speaking from the fulfilled end. Let us rehearse this more richly. Feel the texture of the chair beneath you, the gentle weight of your body resting effortlessly. Feel the cool or warm air brushing your skin. Hear the faint clinking of silverware, the softness of your friend's voice, the distant hum of the world outside. Take in the scent of the food, the warmth of the room, the ease in your own heartbeat. In this imaginal moment, everything in your tone, posture, breath, and expression signals a life aligned with its highest good. You are not explaining how things worked out. You are not reciting achievements. You are simply being the one for whom they have. When your friend says, "You seem so happy, everything is working for you," and you respond with that gentle, certain, effortless, it really is you have condensed an entire fulfilled life into a single sensory scene. This is how imagination works best, through short, repeatable, emotionally rich acts. You do not need complexity. You need implication. Feel the warmth in your chest as you lean back in your chair, satisfied. Feel the ease in your breath, the softness in your shoulders. Feel how natural it is to be this version of yourself, the one who receives good news easily, who moves through life with an inner knowing, who is no longer striving or chasing, but simply accepting. Take a moment now and imagine that you laugh lightly, the way people do when life is sweet and nothing presses upon them. Your friend laughs with you. There is no tension, no unfinished business, no pressure, only the atmosphere of a life resolved, aligned, flourishing. This single imaginal scene, repeated gently each night, becomes the seed of your composite state. It gathers everything you desire into one living picture. It gives your subconscious a clear signature. This is who I am. This is my life now. And the subconscious, which accepts impressions literally, unquestioningly, must bring forth the outer reflections of this inner knowing. You are no longer manifesting things. You are manifesting the self that naturally experiences them. In this single dinner scene, you have already embodied the one who is fulfilled, and life must now follow. Let us continue deeper into the unfolding of this state. If we are to proceed faithfully, we must return to the core of my entire teaching, the point upon which every manifestation, whether one or many, must turn. It is not the picture that creates. It is not the words you speak. It is not the words you speak. It is not the ritual, the repetition, the detail, or the effort. It is the feeling that does the work. Feeling is the one and only doorway through which your desire enters the subconscious, and the subconscious is the only power that produces your world. When you attempt to manifest many things at once, most people make the same innocent mistake. They try to imagine each one separately, this outcome here, that outcome there, as though they were assembling the pieces of a puzzle. But your life is not a puzzle. It is a state. A state has a feeling tone, an atmosphere, a quality. And this single feeling can carry within it the seeds of countless manifestations. Think of it this way. When you enter a room filled with music, you do not need to analyze every note. The atmosphere touches you immediately. It conveys a mood, a world, an emotional landscape. So it is with your fulfilled life. You do not need to imagine every blessing one by one. You need only enter the feeling of what life is like when everything has aligned. One feeling of fullness can express wealth. One feeling of harmony can express love. One feeling of vitality can express health. One feeling of relief can express long-awaited breakthroughs in many areas at once. It is the tone that matters, not the specifics. Let us explore this together. Close your eyes, not now physically, but inwardly. Withdraw for a moment from the world of facts and step into the world where truth is born. Imagine yourself waking in the morning, not with anxiety or tension, but with a quiet, satisfied breath. You sit on the edge of your bed, feet touching the floor, and there is a single feeling moving through your chest. My life finally fits me perfectly. Not a feeling of excitement, which is temporary. Not the frantic thrill of it happened, which fades, but a deep, warm, stable sense of rightness. Everything is in its place. Everything belongs. Everything is aligned with who you truly are. Notice how this one feeling covers many desires at once. A person whose life fits them does not lack money. A person whose life fits them does not struggle for affection. A person whose life fits them does not fear for their future, their health, their purpose. All of it is contained in the simplicity of that feeling. You are not chasing anything in that moment. You are resting in the knowing that what is yours has arrived, and what is not yours has fallen away. Let the feeling deepen. Feel it as a warmth beneath the ribs, a lightness in your shoulders, a softness in your breath. This is the feeling that does the work. Now let me teach you something I have shown to only a few students, what I call the naturalness test. The naturalness of a scene or a feeling determines whether you are truly in fulfillment or still lingering in desire. If your imaginal act feels forced, strained, artificial, if you must try to believe it, if your body does not relax into it naturally, then you are imagining from longing, not from completion. Longing will never create. Completion always will. When the feeling is right, it drops into the subconscious effortlessly, like a stone sinking into still water. You will sense a click, a settling, a quiet yes from within you. Not excitement, but a grounded recognition, as though something ancient has returned home. That is when the work is done. You must understand that the subconscious accepts only what feels natural. It will not take in anything that you yourself reject as unbelievable. You cannot command it with words, you must coax it with feeling. So if the scene feels unnatural, do not force it. Gently adjust it until it becomes something you could truly inhabit. Make it smaller, simpler, closer to daily life. Something that feels like a warm, worn chair that you slip into with ease. The goal is not to excite the subconscious, but to convince it. And it is convinced only by what feels like home. Do not mistake drama for power. Power is quiet. Power is steady. Power is the feeling, of course this is mine. It always was. When that feeling dawns in you, you have entered the creative state from which all things arise. Let us continue even deeper. Time has misled more seekers than any other illusion in this world, for it presents itself as a barrier, a sequence, a long corridor through which one must walk patiently, step by step, desire by desire. But I tell you now, as I have told those who sat before me in the small halls of yesterday, time is not a creator. It is only a servant. It does not build. It reveals. It does not produce. It unfolds what is already true in higher dimensions of being. When I speak of the fourth dimension, I speak of a realm where creation is finished. Not will be, not someday, not in progress. Finished, complete, whole. Your desires, every single one of them, already exist in their fullness. You are not building them with effort. You are not assembling them like a craftsman. You are selecting them by assuming their feeling. It is difficult for the rational mind to grasp this because it has been trained to believe in linear time. First this, then that. One thing after another. But your deeper self, your true self, does not live in a line. It lives in a field, an eternal now where all states exist simultaneously. This is why I tell you that manifesting multiple desires is not only possible, but entirely natural. You do not need to cue your blessings as though the universe were a shop counter with limited service. You are not waiting your turn. You are simply shifting your attention through the vast landscape of already existing states. Imagine for a moment that your life is a great film. If you were to hold the reel in your hands, you would see every scene, past, present, and future, laid out before you. All frames exist at once. You could touch the beginning, skip to the end, return to the middle. The sequence appears only when the light shines through the frames one by one, but the frames themselves are simultaneous. Your desires are those frames. They exist now. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not creating a new frame. You are lighting it up. You are bringing into visibility what always was there. And when you shift your state to include multiple fulfilled desires, you are simply lighting up more of the real at once, allowing your consciousness to rest in a composite frame, a version of you whose life is abundant in many directions. This is why it is senseless to worry about time. Time cannot hold back what already exists. Time cannot deny what is already true in the fourth dimension. When you believe you must manifest one desire at a time, you are imagining yourself as a creature of the third dimension, crawling through events, trying to push your blessings into order. But when you understand that you are a being of imagination, casting your awareness into the fourth dimension, you no longer walk, you select, you choose, you align. Consider this. If you were reading a book and wished to revisit chapter 12, you would not need to rewrite the pages. You would simply open them. And if you wish to skip ahead, you would not need to earn the right through time. You would simply turn the page. So it is with your life. You are not constructing your future. You are opening it. All the wealth you seek exists now. All the love you desire exists now. All the health, all the opportunities, all the fulfillment, now. You do not approach them in a line. You step into them as a state. There is a version of you, alive now in higher dimensions, who holds all these blessings. You connect with him by feeling what he feels, thinking as he thinks, breathing as he breathes. And when you dwell in his state long enough, your three-dimensional world must reorganize itself to mirror what you have assumed. This is why you may assume the fulfilled version of your love, your finances, your purpose, your health, all at once, without strain, without confusion. They are not separate creations. They are one identity. And identity is not built brick by brick. It is chosen in a single stroke of consciousness. Let this truth settle into you softly. You are not becoming, you are selecting. And the moment you select, all of time bends to accommodate the selection. Rest in that. Let the illusion of waiting dissolve. Let the anxious need to sequence your blessings fall away. What is yours in the fourth dimension is inevitable in the third. And now, we go deeper still. There is a question that arises in nearly every student who attempts to embrace a fuller, richer vision of life. It comes quietly at first, like a whisper of doubt. Am I asking for too much? And if that whisper is not recognized for what it is, it grows into guilt, into fear, into a sense of unworthiness that fractures the state you are trying to embody. I have watched countless sincere seekers stumble here, not because the law failed them, but because they believed they were asking more of life than life was willing to give. Let me speak plainly to you now. You cannot desire too much, not because you must discipline your greed, but because your desires are not commands thrown at the universe. They are revelations of who you already are. They rise from within you like buds on a tree, not to shame you, but to remind you of the vitality of your inner being. Each desire, when it appears, is simply the next frame in the reel of your own unfolding. To reject it as too much is to reject a piece of yourself. When you fear wanting many things at once, the fear does not come from the desire. It comes from the belief that there is not enough, or worse, that you are not enough. But I tell you now, as I told my students in those small rooms so many years ago, the only poverty in this world is a poverty of imagination. When you feel unworthy, you shrink your state, you narrow your allowance, and you interrupt the natural flow of the law. And here is where the friction begins. You assume the end: money, love, companionship, health. And for a moment you feel it. You feel the warmth of it, the naturalness, and then something happens in your outer world. A bill arrives, a symptom returns, the person you love seems distant, the job does not call back, and instantly you think, I have done something wrong. The law is failing me. But my dear friend, these outer movements are not signs of failure. They are signs of transition. The world you see with your eyes is the echo of the state you used to occupy. It is the residue of old assumptions. It must pass through its own cycle of dissolution before the new state can appear. This is why I always said, do not judge by appearances. Not because appearances are evil, but because they are late. They are memories, not prophecies. When the old state rises to the surface in the form of obstacles, discomfort, or contradiction, do not worship it. Do not bow to it. Do not give it authority over your inner knowing. Instead, speak gently to yourself as the master speaks to a beloved child. Not with force, not with anger, but with quiet firmness. Say within yourself, this is only the shadow of what I once believed. It has no power over who I am now. Your inner dialogue is the steering wheel of your destiny. It is in those small private moments, walking down a hallway, lying in bed, washing dishes, that the real battle is won. Not with struggle, but with remembrance. When doubt whispers, answer with identity. I am the one who has. When fear rises, answer with authority. It is done. When the world contradicts you, answer with stillness. This too shall pass, for I have assumed differently. Do not scold yourself for wobbling. Every soul wobbles. Even those who have manifested great things wobbled along the way. The key is not to eliminate the wobble, but to shorten its lifespan, to recognize doubt as an echo, not a prophecy. And the way you shorten it is by speaking to yourself in the tone of the fulfilled man or woman, not begging, not pleading, but remembering. Remember who you are. Remember what you have assumed. Remember that the state you occupy is the cause, and the world you see is the effect. When you feel guilty for wanting more, see that guilt for what it is, a remnant of an old self-concept. When you fear, you are asking too much. Realize the absurdity. You, the image of the infinite, fearing an excess of infinity. When life throws its contradictions at you, bless them. They are the last gasps of old states losing their hold. You are not fragile. You are not limited. You are not taking from anyone by stepping into your fullness. What you desire, love, wealth, purpose, vitality, already belongs to the version of you who lives in the fulfilled state. Your task is not to earn it, but to return to it. And each time doubt appears, let your inner voice bring you home again. There is no tool I have given that rivals the effectiveness of entering the state akin to sleep, what I called sets. It is the golden doorway between the conscious and the subconscious, the narrow passage through which your assumptions slip effortlessly into the depth of being where they are accepted as fact. And for the work of many desires at once, this doorway becomes even more essential, because the conscious mind loves complexity, but the subconscious accepts only simplicity, feeling, and implication. Tonight, I want you to approach sates not as a task, not as a ritual of strain, but as the gentle sinking of a boat into calm water. Begin by preparing your body, not with ceremony, but with ease. Lie down in a way that pleases you. Do not force yourself into stiff positions. Allow your hands to rest loosely, your jaw to soften, the breath to fall into its natural rhythm. You are not trying to do anything yet. You are simply withdrawing attention from the outer world, gathering your awareness inward. As the body begins to relax, the senses grow less alert. The room fades. The weight of the day dissolves. The edges of thought blur. This is the borderland. This is the sacred threshold where the conscious mind grows drowsy, but does not yet sleep, and where the subconscious becomes receptive, wide open like fertile soil, waiting for seed. It is here that I want you to introduce the composite scene. Do not attempt to imagine many scenes. Do not list your desires. Do not try to remember everything you want. That is the language of the waking mind, and it confuses the deeper self. Instead, Recall the simple imaginal moment we shaped earlier, one small scene that implies the fulfillment of many things at once. Perhaps you are laughing with a friend over dinner, speaking casually of how life has opened for you. Perhaps you are being congratulated on something that could only happen if your finances, your relationships, your health, your confidence, all were flourishing. The power of the scene lies not in its details, but in its implication. Let the scene be brief, no more than a few seconds long, like a fragment of a memory. Let it loop naturally. In your mind's eye, hear the tone of the friend's voice. Feel the warmth of the room. Sense the relaxed joy within your own chest. Do not force anything. You are not striving to produce vivid imagery. You are allowing yourself to fall into the feeling of the scene, just as one might drift into a pleasant daydream. If the mind begins to wander, do not scold yourself. Gently bring it back. If doubt or restlessness surfaces, treat it like a cloud passing across the sky. Acknowledge it, let it float by, and return to the quiet sweetness of your scene. What matters most here is the emotional undertone, that gentle sense of "this is my life now." A quiet inner smile may appear, a softness in the chest, a feeling of fullness or completion. These subtle sensations are the language of the subconscious. It hears them much more clearly than words spoken in the daylight. As you drift closer to sleep, allow the scene to become softer, not brighter, not more detailed, softer. Let it blend with the drowsiness. You may feel as though you are sinking into the scene, or that the scene is sinking into you. This is the moment of acceptance. This is where the subconscious says, "So this is who I am." And once that acceptance takes root, the outer world must conform. Do not stay awake trying to maintain the scene. When sleep comes, let it take you. Falling asleep in the assumption is the final seal. In that quiet descent, the subconscious absorbs the state fully, without interference from reason or fear. And so tonight, this is all you must do. When you lie down, withdraw your attention gently from the day. Slip into that drowsy edge where thought loosens its grip. Enter the composite scene, a single, simple moment that implies everything you desire. Feel it as natural. Let it soften. Let it cradle you as you cross into sleep. This is the only work required. Do this tonight, and you will have planted the seed of a life in which all your desires harmonize as one fulfilled state. There is a part of this work that many overlook, yet it is often the very thing that determines whether one's chosen state blossoms effortlessly or becomes tangled in old roots. That part is revision. For while you may assume the fulfilled state today, if your memories of money, of love, of health, of opportunity remain soaked in disappointment and fear, then those memories whisper against your new assumption. They do not overpower it. Nothing can overpower a sustained state, but they pull at it, tugging softly, creating inner noise where there should be stillness. And so tonight, I want to take you into the sacred art that I myself used often, the rewriting of the past, so that it harmonizes with the life you are now selecting. Understand that your past does not exist as fixed stone. It lives only as impressions, impressions carried within the deeper self. These impressions are states. They are not events. They are meanings you assigned to events. And because the subconscious responds to meaning, not chronology, healing the meaning heals the entire chain of circumstances that once flowed from it. When I teach revision, I begin gently. I ask you not to go hunting for pain, not to force yourself into traumatic recollection, but to acknowledge the memories that naturally present themselves when you think of the areas you wish to improve. If you are manifesting financial freedom, notice what memories rise, perhaps the humiliation of being unable to pay a bill, or the tension you felt as a child listening to adults argue about money. If you are manifesting love, perhaps the sting of a rejection or the loneliness of waiting for someone who never came. If you are manifesting success or purpose, perhaps the echo of failure or the heartbreak of being overlooked. Once a memory presents itself, evoke it softly, not to relive it, but to hold it just long enough to transform it. Bring it up the way one might examine an old photograph, knowing that the photograph is not the moment, it is merely its shadow. And now, rewrite it. See the bill being paid with ease. Hear the adults laughing with relief instead of arguing. See the lover turning toward you with warmth instead of walking away. Watch the opportunity open in your favor. Let the employer praise your work rather than dismiss it. Imagine the version of you who succeeded where you once failed. You not ask whether it is true. You are not a historian. You are a creator. You are giving the subconscious a new cause, so it may produce a new effect. As you rewrite, do not stay in the mind alone. Feel the new ending. Let it wash through you. The relief, the confidence, the joy, the dignity. Let those be the sensations that define the memory now. A revised memory must be felt, not merely imagined, for the subconscious accepts only what is saturated with feeling. Hold the new ending until the old one loses its emotional charge. You will know revision is complete when the revised version feels more real than the original, when the body relaxes, when a soft, of course, moves through you. In that moment, the subconscious replaces the old cause with the new. And because the outer world is nothing but the shadow of these causes, your present and future must shift to align with the new pattern. Let me guide you now through a brief example. Close your eyes and let a memory touch the surface, perhaps a moment when you felt small in the face of life. Do not resist it. Let it appear. Now soften it. Imagine the scene beginning to shift, as though someone gently turned the lens. See yourself in that same moment, but standing taller. Hear words of support where once there was criticism. Feel the warmth of success where once there was failure. Watch the faces around you brighten, your own included. And now, let the scene end in triumph. However you define triumph, let the revised ending become the only ending. When you open your eyes, carry that feeling with you. Let it fold itself into your new composite state, harmonizing the past with the life you are now assuming. Revision is the great purifier. It clears the static that distorts your inner signal. It releases the old stories so that your new identity can emerge unchallenged, undivided. And when the past and the future agree, when both bend toward fulfillment, your manifestation flows with an ease that seems miraculous, though it is nothing more than the law working without resistance. Do this as often as needed, not with strain, but with love. For every healing you bring to the past is a gift to the version of yourself who once suffered, and every healed memory becomes a stepping stone toward the self you are now daring to become. There is a truth I shared often, and yet even those who claim to study the law would overlook its depth. It is this: everyone you meet is yourself pushed out. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally. Each person is an expression of the state you occupy. They are instruments moved by the unseen currents of your assumptions. They appear to have their own motives, their own choices, their own timing, and yet all their movements are shaped by the inner arrangement you sustain. When you begin to manifest many desires at once, it may seem as though you would need many different people to cooperate. Banks approving, employers promoting, partners loving, friends supporting, clients choosing you, opportunities opening, and the rational mind becomes overwhelmed at the sheer number of external pieces that must fall into place. But I tell you, you do not move these pieces. The state moves them. The composite state you assume becomes the script for everyone around you. It is not your task to convince a banker to see you favorably. It is your task to assume the state of the one who is approved. When you do, the banker, whether this one or another, will behave in alignment with that assumption. It is not your task to persuade a partner to love you more deeply. It is your task to embody the state of the beloved, and the partner, this one or another, will reflect that state. You do not chase clients. You assume the state of the successful one, and clients are compelled to move toward you. They come by inspiration, by coincidence, by sudden inner prompting that they themselves cannot explain. In the days when I gave these lectures, I saw this movement again and again. A man would come to me desperate for a promotion, fearing he had no influence over his superiors. Yet, after assuming the state of the one already promoted, he would find his employer unexpectedly praising him, shifting policies, or creating new positions entirely. A woman longing for companionship would assume the state of being cherished, and suddenly people who had overlooked her for years would begin to treat her differently. Not because she changed her appearance, but because she changed her inner vibration. A student facing financial ruin would assume the state of abundance, and within days, a forgotten debt was repaid. An employer apologized for a delayed paycheck, or a relative unexpectedly offered assistance, the world rearranges itself around your assumption. Others step into roles they themselves do not understand. They say the words you needed to hear. They take the actions required for your desire to crystallize. They feel impulses that lead them to you as though drawn by strings. But the strings are your inner state. When you manifest many desires at once, you are not asking more of people. You are simply giving them more roles in the play you have chosen. Your abundance may require a banker to approve something. Your love life may require someone to text, to forgive, to notice, to choose. Your health may require a doctor to see something he missed before. Your career may require a client to think of you in the exact moment your name is needed. But do not think of these as tasks. They are movements of your own consciousness appearing in the outer world as other people. This is why blessing others is blessing yourself. When you inwardly see them acting in accordance with your fulfillment, you are not manipulating them, you are acknowledging them as facets of your own being. When you imagine the employer recognizing your value, you are lifting both yourself and him. When you imagine a partner responding with tenderness, you are elevating the entire relationship. When you imagine clients drawn to you, you are not taking from them, you are giving them the joy of choosing what aligns with your higher state. Let me tell you of one case that still delights me. A woman in New York desired wealth, reconciliation with a family member, and success in her small business all at once. She feared she was asking for too much. I told her to assume the state of the woman who already lived this harmonious life. She did not visualize each desire separately. She simply inhabited the feeling that her life finally fit her perfectly, as you and I have spoken of tonight. Within 2 weeks, a supplier who had once refused her calls phoned her with a discounted offer. A relative who had been cold for years wrote to her with warmth. A small inheritance, completely forgotten, was released from a lawyer who admitted the papers had been sitting on his desk for months. She called it a miracle. I called it inevitability. When the state is sustained, coincidences multiply. Strangers become messengers. Friends become helpers. Institutions bend. Doors open. Situations soften. People shift without knowing why. The orchestration is perfect because it is not orchestrated. It is natural. It is simply your expanded state expressing itself through the world. Remember this always. You do not change people by force. You change people by changing your assumption. And as your assumption shifts, they rise, they soften, they help, they appear, they give, they choose, they align. One state, many desires, and many movements of others, all flowing from the single core of your imagination. Such is the law. There comes a moment in this work when the imaginal act must expand beyond the quiet of night and begin to permeate the hours of the day. You cannot confine your fulfilled state to the pillow. If you do, it remains a dream. Beautiful, yes, but fragile. The true transformation occurs when you begin to walk as the one who already possesses the life you have assumed. Not pretending, not forcing, simply allowing the inner shift to express itself through the natural movements of your body, your voice, your choices, and your quiet responses to life. When I say walk as the one who already has it all, I am not asking you to change your outer behavior artificially. I am not asking you to buy things you cannot yet afford, or to speak boldly when you feel timid. I am speaking of an inner gait, an inner posture, a way of carrying yourself in your imagination that inevitably spills into action. The man or woman who knows they are fulfilled is not hurried. They are not frantic. They are not scanning the horizon for proof. They move with an unspoken calm, an ease that does not need to announce itself. Ask yourself, if I truly were the one whose desires were already realized, how would I walk into a room? How would I answer the telephone? How would I spend the small pockets of time throughout my day? How would I breathe? How would I speak to the people around me? You will find that the fulfilled self does not analyze their progress. They do not press their ear against the door of the future, listening for clues. They move through the world with the quiet certainty of someone standing on solid ground. One of the clearest signs that your composite state is becoming natural is a softening in your relationship with the outer world. You check less. you wait less, you measure less. The compulsive need to look for confirmation fades like fog in the morning sun. In its place arises a deep stillness, an inner assurance that needs nothing outside to verify it. This stillness is not indifference. It is mastery. It is the knowledge that the seed has been planted, and therefore the harvest is guaranteed. Another sign is the disappearance of urgency. The old self lived in constant tension, always hoping, always fearing, always wondering if something might go wrong. But the new self, the one who has assumed fulfillment, does not hover around their desire like a guard. They rest in it, they breathe in it, they return to it with tenderness, not with desperation. You might find yourself smiling for no reason. You might notice that certain old habits, worrying, doubting, mentally rehearsing negative outcomes, feel unnatural, almost foreign. This is the subtle shift of identity taking root. During the day, you need not perform grand imaginal acts. The power lies in what I call micro-assumptions, small, effortless returns to the feeling of your composite state. When you wake, instead of stepping into the old self automatically, pause for a moment and recall the tone of the fulfilled one. When you prepare a simple meal, feel the ease of someone whose life flows smoothly. When you walk down the street, imagine the world reflecting your new inner wealth. When you receive a message from someone, hear it with the ears of one who is already loved, already respected, already chosen. These micro-assumptions weave the identity into the fabric of your day. They do not demand intensity. They require only sincerity. Each time you slip back into the feeling of fulfillment, even for a second, you reinforce the state. And the state, repeated often enough, becomes your nature. When it becomes your nature, the outer world has no choice but to bow to it. There will be moments, especially in the beginning, when you notice yourself leaning toward the old self. Do not resist it with force. Simply notice it like a memory passing by, and then gently return. Although the return feels small, it is the greatest act of creation you can perform. Creation is not a single strike of lightning. It is the steady alignment with the chosen state. Remember this and take it to heart. You are not learning to become the one who has it all. You are remembering that you already are. Every step you take in that identity draws the world into harmony with it. Every choice you make from that certainty strengthens the signal you send to all the actors in your play. Every quiet assumption causes new pathways to open, new opportunities to arise, new expressions of your state to appear. Walk, therefore, with the inner dignity of the fulfilled one. Walk as the one whose world has already rearranged itself. Let your day become a living echo of your assumption, and soon the echo will take form in the world around you. There is a profound difference between the strained, anxious effort to hold an imaginal scene and the gentle, rhythmic return that true, sustained imagination requires. Many who first hear my teaching believe that the secret lies in gripping the vision tightly, revisiting it with urgency, clinging to it as though it might slip away. But that frantic grasp reveals only one thing: they do not yet believe it is theirs. They hold the vision as a beggar holds a loaf of bread, afraid it might be taken, afraid they may lose what they have not truly claimed. But when the vision becomes yours in consciousness, you do not clutch it. You rest in it. You may visit it often, but the tone of those visits is not strain. It is familiarity. It is like returning to a room you love, a place where everything fits you perfectly. You open the door, step inside, breathe in the atmosphere, and know you belong there. That is sustained imagination, not pressure, but presence, not effort, but ease. You must understand that slipping out of the state is natural. All of us, even I, have drifted into old patterns of thought from time to time. This is not failure. It is simply momentum from former assumptions. When you notice yourself falling back into doubt or fear, do not reprimand yourself. Do not say, "I've ruined it," or "I must start over." No, simply return. The return itself is the act of creation. The return is the gesture of mastery. If you had wandered from your home and found yourself on a road that felt unfamiliar or uncomfortable, you would not panic. You would simply turn around and walk back. You would know that home still exists, untouched, unchanged, waiting for your arrival. So it is with the fulfilled state. No matter how far you drift during the day, the moment you remember it, the moment you feel it again, even faintly, that moment is enough. That moment is creative. Sustained imagination is not a battle, it is a rhythm. It is the steady beat of returning, again and again, until the return becomes unnecessary, because the state has become your natural resting place. When you first assume your composite fulfilled state, you may need to revisit it many times throughout the day, not as a duty, but as a delight. Each gentle return builds what I call spiritual momentum. At first it feels small, perhaps quiet, like the early movement of a tide, but soon you will feel it gathering strength. Soon you will sense the shift happening within you, not through force, but through familiarity. In time, the fulfilled state becomes your home, not a destination you travel to. It becomes the place from which you think, speak, act, and feel. You no longer conjure it deliberately, it rises of its own accord. You walk through your day and suddenly realize you have spent hours in the feeling of certainty without even trying. That is the fruit of quiet persistence. You see, imagination is not fragile. It does not require your constant supervision. The moment you feel the reality of your desire as done, even for a second of genuine conviction, a seed is planted. Each time you revisit that feeling, you water it. Each time you rest in it, you strengthen its roots. Even when you forget, even when you drift, the seed remains alive beneath the surface. And when you return to it, you do not begin again. You simply continue the growth that has already begun. There is a softness to this practice, a sweetness. You are not wrestling your mind into submission. You are teaching it a new rhythm, a new familiarity. You are showing it the way home. With time, the new state becomes more natural than the old. And once it becomes natural, it is inevitable. Because nothing can prevent the world from expressing the state you inhabit consistently. So allow yourself to return gently, lovingly, without pressure. Keep the vision alive, not by force, but by affection. Let fulfillment be the place your mind drifts to when it is unoccupied. Let it become the atmosphere you breathe. Faintly at first, then fully. That is sustained imagination. That is momentum. That is the quiet power by which entire lives are reshaped. And now, my friend, let us draw this long journey to its quiet close. Let the air settle around you. Let the body soften. Let the mind exhale. For what we have touched tonight is not a method, not a collection of techniques, not a sequence of steps to be performed. No, what we have touched is the single truth beneath every desire you have ever held. One self, one I am, one creative act. And from that one act, countless expressions bloom. You are not many selves trying to hold many visions. You are one being, eternal and indivisible, allowing countless branches of fulfillment to grow from the same living root. Do not think of your desires as scattered pieces, needing separate attention. They are simply the many fruits of a single tree, each ripening in its own perfect way, yet all sustained by the same hidden life. Tonight I want you to feel deeply that there is no division within you. There is no conflict between your dreams. There is no competition among your desires. They rise from the same source, your wonderful human imagination, and therefore they are all equally possible, equally natural, equally yours. When you assume the composite state of fulfillment, you are not arranging individual outcomes. You are standing in the truth of what you already are. Hear me now, gently, as I speak this with the authority of experience. You are not learning to make it true. You are learning to accept that it is true. All creation is finished. Every version of you, every life you long for, every love you desire, every achievement you seek, they all exist now, in this moment, as possibilities within the fourth dimension. You are not building anything. You are selecting. And the selection is made not with effort, but with acceptance. Not with strain, but with surrender. So as this night draws near, I bless you with the stillness of the fulfilled state. May you rest in it as a child rests in the arms of a loving father, without fear, without doubt, without striving. Let the feeling of completion wrap itself around you like a warm garment. Let the world outside grow dim, for it is merely the shadow. The truth lies within. And as you lie down upon your bed tonight, slip quietly into the end. Feel the composite life you have chosen as though it were already breathing around you. Let it hold you, let it steady you, let it cradle you into sleep. And while you sleep, the universe, your own wonderful consciousness, will begin its work. It will move people, circumstances, conversations, opportunities. It will rearrange itself with perfect precision, without delay, without confusion, without resistance. For the outer world has no power except to reflect the state you sustain. So rest now. Rest in the end. Rest in the feeling of a life made whole. And may tomorrow rise to meet you in the exact likeness of the self you have dared to assume. Good night, my dear friend. Let the truth you have awakened tonight carry you gently into the fulfilled life that is already yours.